everybody, welcome back to this operation on Berlin. Gonna be a nice squad gameplay today. We'll be flying the F2A3. The F2A3 was the final version of the Brewster Buffalo, and they upgraded the fuel capacity so that it could carry more, but that made the plane slower, so no one liked it. And one of their first combat roles was in the Battle of Midway, where they were hopelessly outmatched by Zeros. Either way, that's all the history you get from me today. You can look up the Warthunder wiki yourself. It is your boy County Check back again with what I think was an amazing time. I had a good time flying on this weekend, and I learned a lot. I think that this F2A3 is a pretty good all-around plane for its BR. It's not the fastest turning, that sort of thing, but it's kind of forgiving if you want to learn how to boom and zoom in it. As you watch me burn down completely, I think we were doing this to grind up the F4U line for to get to the Corsairs. One of my squad mates here, whose links are in the description below. You'll have to figure out who is who, though. I'm not telling. Still murderously cold out here in Ohio for myself. I've gotten to an age where when the cold weather hits me the first time in the year, then it's like, oh man, my hands are going to be cold until May. I don't know what I'm doing living so far north. Something in my soul and my personality just wishes I lived somewhere closer to the equator. I don't mind 80, 90, 100 degree heat. Oh no, oh no. Oh. And don't top that off. Ooh. That was the end of the squad on this one, lads. Never fear though, because that was our warm-up match. Things will get a lot easier as we progress with this situation, and our performance will be somewhat better, I hope. So if you're new here, I'm an American main that struggles to play the game. I learned how to play on a controller, and there were so many limitations, I couldn't deal with it. I finally switched to keyboard, and yeah, when I switched to keyboard, like, my responsibilities changed, and I wound up not having a lot of time to play, which is funny. Whereas before I'd had time, that I could binge the game for an hour or two a day. Then I had some of my responsibilities got readjusted, and I ran afoul of not having enough time. And so I haven't really been getting in a good practice to get me the muscle memory that I need to react appropriately whenever I have things happen in game. I still react like a noob, maybe 60% of the time. Rough estimate, yeah. And so I started this YouTube channel to highlight my gameplay and to highlight the fact that skill issues exist and that it's an acceptable occurrence that people are not professional at this game, within the first month that they pick it up, and to build a community of like-minded people who feel the same way, and maybe wonder if they're the only one that's like, oh my god, I'm suffering. You know what I mean? And they're not. I've seen it in the chat before. You'll be flying into the match and they're like, man, my last Sovereign matches were horrible, or I just got shot down off the runway, which is a huge pet peeve of mine. I hope you never do that. Team killing crap is so annoying. Now, as an aside, when you play on controller, like for me, my PlayStation controller, I would have, what would you do? Your throttle is on the right joystick, right? So you would go to push your right joystick and maybe click the R3 also, and it would activate your guns. So you'd be trying to take off, just, throttling up, holding on to WEP, and your guns would shoot, and you'd be like, oh my god, my controller. Because they would do the same thing sometimes when you were flying if you used like the right joystick for something. Man, I can always get rounds into bombers, but I can just never finish them off. I swear. One of these days, I'm going to get good at killing these bombers, and that'll be enough to make me happy. I'll just be satisfied with it. But yeah, I used to have that happen on controller all the time, and then if you click, I think, the left stick, it brings up the radial menu, so you could like, mechanization, chat with enemies, chat, so on. And so you'll be getting in the thick of it, and what does a man do when things get exciting? Yeah, squeezes his hands. Gets a firmer grip. So you go to get a firmer grip on the controller, and you activate all these sub-menus. It's like, oh, crash. I've watched it happen to friends of mine. It's both hilarious and mortifyingly sad at the same time, which is sort of how I see all things that exist. I do my best to look at everything from the most objective standpoint possible that is based on, like, I don't know, pure definition, without any type of trying to extrapolate it through desired outcome. Because I personally believe, and this could be a bias, but the desired outcome is what creates most of bias. People live in this kind of a way where they're like, I just want to push buttons and make things happen, and stuff to happen now, and no one to ever be in front of me on the road. I mean, I got 2 kills in that match. How rare is that? And they want, the train to never be in their way, and no one to ever be in line at the grocery store, because they are so important and precious that they need to wake up in the middle of their little community, surrounded by people extremely similar to them, and perform the exact same tasks that keep them in the consumer wage slave loop that it's impossible to escape from these days, like it was, pre-1900s. And for there to be no negative consequences for that type of behavior. They just want what they want when they want it, because they think that they live in the information age and they are so smart, when in reality you're dumber than a 10-year-old from 1700. I like to see the difference in actual intelligence, but it would be hard to measure, because the things that people learned in antiquity, a little bit of wiggle wobble there, the things people learned in antiquity, they were hard to learn, and it was not as easily to disseminate information back in the day as it is now, even though I'm sure information was passed, and in some situations more quickly than you would believe. It's just, We live in the information age. Yes, you can Google anything. You can ask Alexa whatever whatever you do that stuff. I don't do any of that. I will look up things on Google, but I try to go to, a website off of Google and look at more than one. But these people, they think that they're so smart, but they failed to grasp the basic concept of reality. Just like if you've seen the movie The Crow, it can't rain all the time, right? Well, it can't be sunshiny all the time either. And to me, that is like one of the greatest follies of modern technological situations. They're like, oh, well, we're trying to do this thing. Then we encounter organizational friction. So we invented this, technology that helps us get past that organizational friction. But in reality, the technology is damning or life-threatening or poisonous, which turns out to be the case. I mean, just look around. You had the radium watch dial girls, remember them? They were painting the radium watches and they all died from, exposure to radium. You had women putting crazy stuff on their faces in the Victorian era, putting nightshade in their eyes, using, hatters using mercury until you were considered madder than a hatter because you had the mercury all in your business, getting sucked up in your brain and stuck in there. Not good. No. Heavy metal in the brain. No bueno. These things all occur because humans are like, I made a thing. I'm going to sell it for a lot of money because I want to be important. And then they do that. And then they're like, oh my, I've poisoned millions. Guess I'll have to hide the fact and, retire with my profits. Thank you. Or like most of the modern day pharmaceutical companies, they make $5 billion, get, sued for $10 million. And then everybody's happy, except for the people who took the poison. That's the society we live in, and I couldn't possibly find anything more repugnant, when you think about it. It's just sad to see that, people don't appreciate our real position in nature. Some do. There's a whole big push for cottagecore and so on and so forth, and that's good, but the reality of it is probably not as likely. I mean, yeah, we have the space for everyone to get a homestead, but do we have usable space for everyone to get a little homestead if we moved everybody out of the city and made them responsible for themselves? And made them stop working at some soul-crushing job so they could just have a few goats, chickens, and a little farm patch, and wonder why all of a sudden they're not depressed anymore because they're outside working all day and doing something fruitful with their time and receiving the reward of their labors, instead of like shuffling down to the bank to cash a paycheck that you never even get. It's just like direct deposit. Man, they took a man's paycheck, bro. You don't even get a paycheck anymore unless you work at certain types of jobs. People don't even see themselves being trained to join with the next step that they have planned out for you all in advance, and you don't even know it exists. It's just funny to see for me. The world is a great, divine comedy, drama, tragedy that is just, to me, hilarious and saddening beyond belief. I've sort of one of those people that has that Irish humor, I guess, and it's like funny and sad at the same time, I sort of exist in that mindset. Yeah, I finished him off. Me, I'm good at finishing off guys. That was your one free statement to take out of context and laugh about today. Oh man, you gotta watch what you say when you're on the internet, kind of, but I sort of don't want to, and just like I do, start this microphone and start letting it flow out of my brain through my vocal cords into this inline microphone on my paint splattered headphones, and straight through the internet into your neural cortex. Let's go. And when I do that, I make no plans. I don't even think about what I'm gonna say. Although I did read the first 2 paragraphs of the wiki before I made this video, because I wanted to give a little bit of info about it. Like, it is not the best plane, but it is good for practice and learning. Seems fairly stable. It's not like trying to fly the P-38s, which require you to stay right on it or it's rolling. The plane rolls on its own, which is of course a side effect of the dual engines, but we won't get into that because this video isn't about that. Here we go. Get in here and see if we can make something happen. Looks like my buddy's on fire. Oh no, man. It's Criff. At least he got a parachute out. I sometimes wonder if I wouldn't like Sim better. I think maybe flying in third person makes me take this game less seriously than you need to perform well in it. Trying a stall maneuver here. If I would have been able to see him behind me, I might have tried to see if this thing would do a hammerhead. I don't usually fly in planes with a rudder, so I just recently discovered those keys. You know, I've been flying mainly the P-51. And I just don't even touch the rudder. Nice. Did you see all those misses? All I needed to do was pull it down a little bit, and I could have kept him off my bro's tail. Woo! Dragging your chestnuts in the grass there, buddy. You better be careful. So my friend died because I couldn't hit that guy. It's all my fault, bro. How depressing, right? When you go out with the squad, then you can't even help anybody or keep them safe. Then I miss all these people. It's like, whew. Should I take off vertical targeting, guys? I play with it on, but I don't know if that's like the move, so to say. I need to have like solid concrete evidence before I actually believe something, because I think that there are so many methods and styles and ways to achieve something that there's no way to say this is your best setting always, because it's like a generic statement. You know, people are different, their methods are different, the way they perceive things are different. I mean, think about this for a second. What world do you live in? Do you live on Earth? You know, the planet Earth in our solar system here that, you know, belongs to everybody? Or do you live on Earth that's yours? Like, is it your Earth? Maybe? I would go so far as to say everyone living on the planet has partial custody and possession of said planet. It should be evenly owned by everyone who gets born. I know, right? We should be able to own parts of the planet the way Nestle owns water. Whenever they move in somewhere, like, oh, look at all this water. Sure be a shame if someone bottled it and sold it and made billions of dollars. What belongs to you? We don't. We signed an agreement. I learned that there are countries in the Middle East that bought land in Arizona yesterday. I learned this. They bought land in Arizona, and American water rights are so lenient that they bought the land. They drilled deeper than everybody else could afford to drill, like the regular farmers and stuff. Then they sucked all the water up out of the aquifers, and they just ship it back to their country because it's easier for them than trying to dig even deeper where they're at. I found it fascinating. Just look it up. Look up something like countries buying water in Arizona. I can't remember exactly which country it was, so I'm not going to say. I don't want to be a doo-doo. But like I said, what world do you live in? Do you live in a world that you understand? Do you really understand it? Are you still laboring under the things that they taught you in school that have you thinking that, you know, your country is the greatest and everything is conquered, there's nothing left to discover, we understand everything, and so on and so forth, which all of these things are vanity, thinking that you understand everything, or that we live in the information age and we're so smart because we can look something up. We're one step from the memory hole, okay? All they have to do is adjust definitions on the internet, control where the traffic goes, and they've created new facts that people will say, try to point at it and say it's a fact, because it's too hard for people to have the nuance, to have a real argument based on malleable understandings of occurrences, which from different points of view can be seen as opposing facts. Like it was just like in Ohio over this last election season. The ads were like, stop gerrymandering, vote no on issue 1. And then the next ad would come on and it would say, stop gerrymandering, vote yes on issue 1. Which one is it? Well, both are true depending on their points of view, you know? So it's funny how it works. Or do you live in the world, or maybe see glimpses of the world that I live in, where rigid-minded people have attempted to define everything in order to exert their control over it more thoroughly, to the point where semantics gets used against people instead of for understanding, which is why it exists. And do you live in the world that I see, which is curiosity and wonder and sort of looking at everything that was presented to me as a child just rang false? And you will get some overview. Oh, we got Grandma joining us here now. You'll get some overview of events that they teach you in history that's beneficial to the state. And the state only. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to benefit you. The reason they've got you there is to make you a malleable idiot. It's just... Anyway, part of the reason I make these videos is that I hope I can awaken one person's sense of wonder, one person's sense of curiosity. Any one of you listening decides to consider that there may be a God. It doesn't have to be, you know what I mean, any of the dogmatic religion stuff that you've heard from people who would never accept you, as it were. It could be whatever you believe in or research or discover is out there. I mean, me personally, my life changed once I kind of looked around enough and realized, you know, like, I think God is real, bro. It's not It's not something that should be removed from humanity, in my personal opinion. Because then people replace it with technology or disgusting things, and that's their new religion, and so they're fanatical about it because they need something to connect with deeply in their soul. But when what you do connect with is no bueno, then yeah, the results on the psyche are not good. Look at me spraying and praying. What a noobzilla. I mean, I'm living on a planet where there are megalithic remains that no one can identify, but everyone seems to think, you know, the plaid shirt archaeologists are all like, oh, it was a temple. Oh, it was a tomb. Yeah. Okay, so archaic people had nothing to do but die and worship religion then, apparently. I don't buy it, man. We've got stuff that seems archaic, but is actually more advanced technology laying around everywhere than stuff we can create now. And they're like, no, dog, it's 2000, I promise. Oh, man, I don't believe it. Check out the YouTube channel Ageless Rock if you're interested in that sort of thing. And yeah, I'm not against how things have turned out, but I'm not a fan of it, you know, for the world. I hope that what's going on in my country can actually go on, you know what I mean, without them pulling the plug before the people who got elected even get a chance to at least try, you know what I mean? I'm interested to see what they would do. It's just funny how when you were like into punk and anti-establishment, you know, for my generation, it was totally, you know, anti-war, punk rock, personal freedom, so on and so forth. And it's just funny to see how the demographics have shifted, because it would be the opposite party of the one that I started in, but I never changed. What did change, however, was the Overton window for certain sides, and they moved it so far to one side that yeah, nobody can see through it anymore. They moved it so far to the side. I won't say which side, because I don't care what side of the political divide you're on, or whether you believe in anything or not. I care that you're alive and that you're a human, and that as such you deserve respect and understanding, and the greatest chance to learn anything that you could learn that would improve your life. I'm addicted to learning things that would improve my life, and I've been doing it so long my life is trash. It's hilarious. Spend too much time studying, not enough time doing. Either way, if you have been here with me watching, I appreciate you, and I love you. Consider liking, subscribing, joining the Discord, or letting me at least know if the link works in the descriptions below. But most importantly, I hope you have a good day. Don't let anything get you down. This is County Check, crashing in the cockpit, and we'll see you on the next one.